Some monsters wear masks, others walk freely among us, unnoticed. But one man, whose crimes are darker than most could imagine, simply vanished after claiming to have killed over 300 children. His name is Pedro Alonso López, the monster of the Andes. You've heard of Bundy and Dahmer, but this man may be the most prolific serial killer in history, and yet no one knows where he is. This is the story of a serial killer who disappeared without a trace. Born in 1948 in Colombia, Pedro Alonso López's life began in the shadows of violence and abandonment. His father, a member of the Colombian army, was killed before Pedro was even born. His mother, a sex worker, raised him among poverty, abuse, and neglect. At just 8 years old, Pedro was thrown out of his home after allegedly attempting to molest his sister. Alone on the streets of Bogotá, he was kidnapped by a group of men and brutally assaulted. That moment, many believe, marked the psychological break, the beginning of a killer. By the early 1970s, López had begun his killing spree. His victims were always the same: young girls, typically between 8 and 12 years old, from impoverished villages. He lured them with small gifts, toys, candy, false kindness masking a predator's intent. Once isolated, he would strangle them and dispose of their bodies in mass graves. López later confessed to murdering at least 110 girls in Ecuador alone, and more than 200 more in Colombia and Peru. He wasn't just killing, he was hunting across 3 countries with terrifying precision. In 1980, López's reign of terror nearly ended at the hands of an indigenous tribe in Ecuador. Caught trying to abduct a young girl, the villagers planned to execute him. But a traveling American missionary intervened and convinced the tribe to turn him over to authorities instead. In custody, López shockingly confessed, in chilling detail, to the murders of over 300 children. He led police to mass graves where dozens of bodies were found, proof that his confessions weren't lies, they were real. You might expect a man who confessed to hundreds of murders to face life behind bars or worse. But in Ecuador at the time, the maximum sentence even for mass murder was just 16 years. López served only 14, released early for good behavior. Yes, one of history's most horrifying serial killers walked free. But the story doesn't end there. In fact, it gets even more disturbing. After his release in 1994, López was deported to Colombia and arrested again for an old murder. He was placed in a psychiatric facility. Doctors declared him sane, and in 1998, he was released again. Since then, he has disappeared. No confirmed sightings, no known residents, no arrest. Authorities don't know where he is. Some believe he changed identities. Others fear he resumed killing. A confessed child murderer? Vanished. And he could be living among us right now? Was Pedro Alonso López killed after his release? Did he flee to a remote village and live in hiding? Or worse, is he still out there, continuing his nightmare? Some reports suggest bodies appeared in Peru in the early 2000s matching his methods, but nothing was proven. Today, López would be in his late 70s. If he's alive, he's a free man, possibly watching the world forget his name. But we must not forget. Because real monsters don't vanish. They hide. What do you think happened to Pedro Alonso López? Was he killed, or is the monster of the Andes still breathing? Drop your theories in the comments. If this story shocked you, and you want more dark mysteries from the shadows of history, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Stay curious, stay safe, and stay watching.